I think what was really exciting for me is that is that the kind of logic, the internal logic of these stories was worked out en route, and that I want to kind of honor that as a way of doing theology, which we need to discover more and more of. In other words, there were no, in a sense, there were no presuppositions as to how God was going to work, or how church was going to look like, or whether there was going to be connection with church, and so on and so forth. So I was struck particularly with Linda's story about the Saturday gathering, that church language was received actually quite late on in the process, and it was received through practices which you could connect with very ancient practices, but it was kind of deconstructing and then reinventing church from the inside out, which I think is so exciting. And I think, speaking from the context of training people for ministry, something in me is challenged about the kind of mindset out of which these initiatives come, which is not a traditional missional mindset as I see it. I mean, I'm picking up on what you said, Martin, about back in the 1980s. Somehow these are all examples of entering into the dangerous mission of God, which does involve the church, but not actually probably in the ways that we anticipate or would like to think sometimes that God will be involved. And I think that sense of, what is it, riskiness, of edginess, of commitment, of real vulnerability is a very wonderful thing to receive. And I found that in all of the stories, but it kind of deconstructs a lot of our paradigms, doesn't it? And that's why it's so, at one level, quite threatening to those paradigms. And maybe the threat needs to be heard and received, because the stories that came out are stories from neighborhoods that I recognize in Britain. And to an extent, the whole secularization thing is part of that. But actually, probably some of these communities are never communities that the church has ever connected with. So I find incredible hope there. And I suppose the challenge is to think how we encourage that kind of mindset, which is a new kind of way of thinking, I think, for many.